Hey guys, welcome to Ringside as we are joined today by the future legend, Kerry Morton. How you doing, man?
Guys, I am doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on the air. I'm a big fan of the show, so it's cool to get the opportunity to come on here and speak my mind.
Thank you so much. We were just saying before we started recording, you've been quite busy. Did you say you've done 7 different states in the last week?
That's right, Pat. Actually, quite frankly, in the last 4 days, I've been to about 7 different states, wrestling, traveling, connections with flights, and everything in between. I just arrived home about, late last night, early this morning, quote unquote. So I'm here and I'm wide awake. I got my big water over here. Took some pre-workout and I'm ready to roll. So
you're living that pro wrestler lifestyle, aren't you? You know, traveling all the states, doing the flights, the connections.
I have. So that's the tough thing about being in the professional wrestling business. It's not necessarily getting in the ring and getting your ass whooped time and time again. It's literally after wrestling, you get in your car or you get on you go to the airport and you fly out, and you're meal prepping and you're trying to stay on a healthy regimen of diets. That's the tough part about this. I would say that's what I keep on asking my dad. How did you do this for 40 plus years? And he's like, oh, you're just getting started, kid. I said, all right.
That's awesome. I mean, I'll tell you what as well, before we speak wrestling, obviously we'll talk about your dad and everything like that, but I mean, you're also a cheerleader, am I correct?
That's right. I'm an NCAA Division II cheerleader here.
That's so cool. I had no idea.
Yes. Yeah. I'm actually, believe it or not, I am a national champion in cheerleading as of April of this year.
That
amazing.
Is amazing.
Thank you.
One thing I've got to ask straight away then, I'm only just finding out this now. How much has cheerleading helped with pro wrestling? Has there been anything which you've taken from cheerleading to put into wrestling?
Immensely. I would say most importantly that the biggest thing I take away is leadership, teamwork, and technique. That's 3 things that come to mind when I think of cheerleading and evolving into professional wrestling. And the other sports I played football. I was an amateur wrestling state champion. I played soccer. I dipped into a couple other things, but when you're on a squad filled with a bunch of girls, your whole perspective changes on what you can do and what you can't do. So it makes you learn, I think, patience. Patience is another one, especially in this wrestling industry, as we have our ups just as much as we have our downs. It's patience. Leading into the next bout or what's next for, so to speak, me or myself or other professional wrestlers as I step myself into their shoes. It's patience. You have to learn where to go and where not to necessarily go, to pick and choose what event's going to be beneficial to me and beneficial to the wrestling audience, to see exposure of myself. So that's a thing that comes to mind a lot too when I think of wrestling and cheerleading, is most definitely that.
I mean, I could be wrong as well, because obviously cheerleading isn't as big over here as it is in the US. So, but I'm thinking, when I've seen bits and I've seen clips, it seems very physical as well. So you obviously got the physical aspect as well. I mean, you've got to be strong to do cheerleading, right?
Very. I would say that too. And mind you, I'm the smallest guy in my squad, so I am. I'm not the biggest person, but I'm not necessarily decently small. I'm fairly in between. So that's most important is, we have to work out. We work out 2 times a day, and that's so much cardio. I do a ton of cardio, cheerleading exercises, weight exercises with body weight, and trust. I think a trust exercise is a really important too, as these girls trust you to hold them 6 feet above the air, and have a sturdy base for them, and make sure you can capability of having them in the palm of your hand. So that's a different kind of ball game as well, is thinking about, in my cheerleading squad, especially, we do some basketball games here and there. We do a lot of basketball games, but I'm on the competitive cheerleading squad, so we don't necessarily do the hoorays and ahs. We're it's a routine. It's a 3-minute routine of just solid madness. That's how I can estimate how this goes, is solid madness.
All of my cheerleading knowledge comes from films we get, where it shows like the typical cheerleading squad, in some kind of stereotypical American high school, right? What's actually the most surprising thing? Someone who knows nothing about cheerleading, what's the most surprising thing about cheerleading? Is it the fact that it is so physically demanding, or is there something else completely?
I think that too, and I think you also get the stereotypical of is people. I hear this all the time, especially coming in high school. I was a high school cheerleader, and then going into university. Is you hear the stereotypical, oh, you have to be gay to be a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I absolutely hate that. I'm a huge supporter of the LGBT community, but it's a huge thing is no, like the majority of men and gals are straight in this sport.
Yeah.
And those in between too. So that's a stereotypical thing you're always heard is, oh, why would I be a cheerleader because that's gay? And I absolutely love to prove everyone wrong that that's the farthest thing from it. Although we wear some uniforms, we wear pants and we wear a tight knitted shirt of some sort in uniforms. But no, we that's how this thing goes. Is these girls, and I'm by far going to say this, and I'm gonna brag on my team too. Like I played a lot of sports and I've made a lot of accomplishments in sports, but cheerleading is by far the toughest sport I've ever done in my whole life.
That's so interesting. I love it when you find out about sports, which wrestling gets the same kind of rep, I think, where people look at wrestling and go, oh, it can't be that hard. It is. But then for you to come on and say cheerleading is even harder than that, I find that really interesting.
Yes, it very, very. I mean, there's so many things in between too, of just like here soon, I'm in summer break from school. So like we go back here soon, but like immediately when we go back here at the end of August, leading into NWA 74, like I go to school for that week. I fly out Friday, get there hopefully that night, wrestle Saturday, Sunday, do tapings Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for NWA. And then immediately I head back home for that Thursday because we have to train. There's no time off. Although our tournament takes place in April of next year, there's no time off. We're always training. We're trained literally all year round for 3 minutes.
I wish I had half the energy that you do. I honestly do. I'd get so much done in my life if I had half your energy.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. My girlfriend's got me decorating the house at the moment. I've been doing it for the last 3 days, and I feel like my entire body's falling apart. So
it comes with old age. We're considerably older than you are, I think.
Listen, I'm right there with you. I've been redecorating our house as well. My pops is downstairs. We've kind of been doing some new things with the house and all between, but I'm telling you, it's the same thing. I understand what you're saying. You get confused, you get lost, you get down.
Well, I mean, you mentioned NWA 74 as well, which is coming up August 27th, 28th. You've got Homicide, man, for that NWA Junior Heavyweight title. I mean, how are you prepping for that? I mean, that's a guy who's, a big guy in the wrestling world. How are you prepping for that one?
The Notorious. It's something that I have to go back to the basics, and wrestling and wrestling especially, and this scenery, you're always told time and time again from the vets or those are the locker room leaders, you're told, go back to the basics, go back to what you are good at. Yep. And I think that's what this match is going to consist of is, don't get me wrong, I love to fly and I love the technique and submission wrestling and I love to grapple, but I think this bout is studying Homicide, studying what he can do, what he's capable of. And it's nothing short of, astonishing of what Homicide can still do at this time of day and age. And don't get me wrong, he's a certified ass whooper. So I understand that I might take one hell of an ass whooping when I step in that wrestling ring come August 27th. But it's something I'm preparing for. I'm watching a lot of tape. I'm going back to the basics. I'm asking questions. I'm picking minds. I just got off the phone recently with Steve Carino that's had many notorious bouts of Homicide, just asking him, what should I look out for? And that's the real thing in this business is, although we're in a sports entertainment, this is something that NWA values itself on is legitimacy, professional wrestling, authentic and genuine wrestling, and it's going to be nothing short of two titans clashing. That's what I would kind of say.
Yeah, he's a guy who, I mean, you mentioned obviously he's a guy that we've spoke about a few times with certain people. I don't think he gets enough of the credit he deserves for just how important he's been to the business.
Sure.
Yeah, very so. Very so. I would agree just as much.
Yeah, with Homicide, what people don't really realize is he's a legend of the independents, and he's never touched WWE, but he's still a legend in wrestling. And you know, you name it, he's done it, and he's done it just by, like you said, he's just an ass kicker. He doesn't really have a style. He's just in there to beat you up.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear us?
Hello, gentlemen.
Hey,
Yes.
can you hear us?
We're here.
There we go.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Hey, sorry, I don't know what just happened.
Hey, don't worry, dude. We get internet troubles all the time.
Yeah.
Apologize. I was like, oh no, I lost you.
It's tradition at this point. I was just saying, Homicide, he is a legend in the independents, and he's done that just by being an ass kicker, like you said. He'll just get you in that ring and he will beat you up. What's your best defense for something like that? I mean, are you going to try and fight with Homicide, or are you going to try and take him to the ground? Are you going to out wrestle him? Don't give away too much of your game plan, but
no. I'm proud to say. Listen, I always get tricks up my sleeve. I'll tell you that much. This is now, but I think right now the bout to go about it is obviously he has experience on me. He's been in this business many years. Actually, probably longer than I've been alive. Quite frankly, he's been in this professional wrestling industry. So, you know, my game plan is to stay on my feet, stay loose, and don't let him get a hold of me, quite frankly. You know, I know I'm fast. I know I'm probably faster than him at this current time. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything bad on Homicide. I just know what he's and I heard his promos. I heard what he's talking, say, you know, your father had the it factor. Kerry Morton doesn't necessarily have that it factor. And it makes you kind of, you know, we got some time, but it makes you think about that moment of what he said that. And so, okay, I don't have that it factor. So, you know, and I know that he's a certified ass whooper, and that's something that's just about. So I'm going to try to get a hold of him quickly. You know, I'm going to go in there open-minded and try to, you know, kick him with a kiss it goodbye real quickly, a knee right to the damn chin, and hopefully try to get a quick cover. I mean, that's the game plan, and I'm aware well that he'll probably listen to this as he's doing his studying, and I hope he knows that this bout, I'm not just showing up to NWA 74 for a wrestling match. No. I'm showing up to show the wrestling world what Kerry Morton and Homicide is about to do, and that's create magic. You know, they should go ahead and call the police because we done stole the damn show. That's what should happen.
I don't doubt that for a second. I mean, it also, let's not forget, it's not just about you proving Homicide wrong. There is a championship on the line in this. And what does that mean to you? I mean, this is the NWA. Somewhere your dad is very familiar with. You know, there's a lot of history in this company, and you've got the chance to be that first champion. What does that mean to you?
Oh, it means the world. Especially, you know, my dad won this championship, I believe, back in 2014. He won the National Wrestling Alliance before Billy Corgan took control of the NWA, but he won that championship. You know, a good friend of mine that my dad trained was Chase Owens. He held that championship.
Yeah.
That's just the current day of age of people that stick up to me that's held that championship. The lineage of that belt, and now that it's back in the National Wrestling Alliance, it's a big deal. You know, especially for me, as I just had by far probably one of the biggest matches of my career this past weekend. At Ric Flair's last match.
Yeah.
This match, most importantly, is it's a really big deal to me. You know, Billy Corgan and the team at NWA knows what I'm capable of, and knows that I now have a #1 contendership for this belt, and I'm not showing up just to lay down on the mat. I'll show you that much. And if he's gonna beat me, he's gonna beat me with a hell of a fight.
Hell yeah! How much? Obviously, we mentioned your dad, and people that are going to listen. Obviously, your dad is Ricky Morton from there, probably arguably the greatest tag team of all time, Rock and Roll Express. I mean, how much support has your dad been? I mean, has he been a big help with just in general with your career?
Yes, he's been a huge help in my career so far. You know, he's gone out of his way to promote me on his social media. He reaches out to promoters, and then it's kind of cool when the word gets around that, hey, as his standpoint, my son was breaking into the business. Many people have reached out to me, especially from this past weekend. I'll tell you something really cool. It's a real cool, quick story. As we walk into the roast of Ric Flair, it's the first time seeing Ric Flair this weekend. He's very familiar with me. We're sitting over there, and Rick goes out of his way to come talk to us. Yeah. And Rick's talking to me, and he's talking to my father. And then he looks at me, and he's like, Kerry, how you doing? How's everything going? I said, good, sir. And, and he said, I keep up to date with what you're doing right now. And I said, well, I appreciate that, Rick. And he goes out of his way just to tell me, if there was a number one draft pick, if there's a draft in professional wrestling, he said, Kerry, I would probably pick you. And just to hear the greatest of all time, in my opinion, Ric Flair, to say that, you know what, he would probably pick me.
That is the highest praise you can get, I think.
It was pretty damn humbling to hear that. It makes you think that everything that you've done, it makes me think especially that everything I've done in wrestling so far, it's doing something. It's making something. It's making some sort of wave right now. I'm doing something right. To hear Ric Flair say that, I got to meet with Bret Hart. He talked to me and he said, hey, I keep up to date with you. And that's someone that means the world to me is Bret Hart. Keep up to date with you. He said, your dad's one of the greatest of all time, and I think you're well on your way. I said, well, damn, that's true. And, as 21 years of age, I'm not trying to get big-headed or ahead of myself. I'm just saying that's humbling to hear. That's humbling to hear.
I was just about to say, that must be so humbling coming from those two guys.
The two of the greatest of all time, Ric Flair and Bret Hart. I mean, when you're looking at people's, Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling, that's probably 50% of it right there. And they're both saying, you know what I mean? They're both saying, we're watching you. Is that a lot of pressure?
It wasn't until it kind of was at that moment. When he said that, I was like, wow, that's really cool. But it makes you think too, whatever I'm doing so far, I must have been doing something right.
Exactly.
And so, and I keep on, I hear this thing time and time again. And, I'm not going to name names or anything, but everyone's like, you got a lot of luck on your side. I said, no, I don't got luck. I got skill. I got skill on my side. And I'm not trying to be cocky or arrogant or come off as that on this podcast or on this media call, but I'm just saying that wrestling means the world to me. And this is something that I'm willing to go out and show what I'm capable of doing. Can you guys hear me?
We're still here.
Great. So I'm just what I'm capable of doing. And that's one day hoping to claim my name on some of the greats.
You can tell. You can tell by how you're talking about it. You take this seriously. You're passionate about it. And
very.
What I love about
cut out for just a second. I apologize. I don't know if it's my internet connection.
What I love about you. Go on, Jamie.
I've lost you both.
I'm here.
Are you there, my friend?
Yes, we're here, dude.
Yeah.
We're here. Yeah. That was Callum was saying, obviously, you take it seriously. And I was going to add to that point, obviously, you've got Homicide. But, I mean, is the future goal? Obviously, you want that 10 pounds of gold.
Most definitely, I want that 10 pounds of gold, And I don't know how big of a scene that the NWA is over in the UK or overseas, but
it's big, dude. Well, I mean, to me, I've always said this, and I'm a wrestling fan of all companies, but to me, the NWA has always been the wrestling company for me. Yeah. So it's That's
awesome to hear. Genuinely, that's what that's the big goal is to have that 10 pounds of gold on my waist and hold this company and hold it with precision and hopefully bring it to more bounds and bounds and boundaries that we can reach here, not within just the United States, but I hope one day that the National Wrestling Alliance gets this opportunity to come overseas. And hopefully if I win this championship of the junior heavyweight championship, damn well that I'm going to be a traveling and defending champion. And that's just one place. I just got my passport back in the mail, and that's one place that I want to knock off as quick as possible is coming over there and meeting people such as you guys that are, big wrestling fans.
We'll be front row. If you're over here, we'll be front row, I guarantee.
What I love about you, Kerry, is you.
That's very neat to hear. Very, very kind.
You remind me
as well. Obviously, just before we start to wrap up as well. Obviously, NWA 74 is 2 nights. Do you think that's a trend now that's going to happen forever? Like WrestleMania's 2 nights, Wrestle Kingdom's 2 nights. Do you think that's something we're going to see predominantly now going ahead in the future?
I think so. I think it's a way to showcase more talent on the scene, and that's a thing that has to do with professional wrestling is you have so much great talent, and you only have so many slots to showcase this talent. And so it's not necessarily choosing the best of the best or in this bout. It's just choosing like, hey, who fits right now? I'm sorry. We're back on the recording.
We're back to it.
We're back to it. So I think that the programs for big pay-per-views going 2 nights, I think it's a really cool opportunity. I hope that the wrestling fans are enjoying that. I know work schedules can be really combining with Saturdays and Sundays.
The thing is, we're wrestling fans. If you give us wrestling 7 nights a week, we're going to be there. So that's the beauty of wrestling. We all love it.
You're right.
That's the beauty of it, dude. It is. But
I just want to say one thing I was going to say before it cut off. One thing I really like about you, Kerry, is you remind me of what a good guy should be in wrestling. And, like you watch wrestling nowadays and you get the good guys who are actually, they're actually heels by how they act and talk. You are an old school babyface, as clean as it gets. White meat babyface, and you're easy to get behind. Like when you're on the screen, I want to support you. And, when I'm talking to you now, your passion is infectious and I want to support you and watch you win. And that's very rare. You get that in wrestling nowadays. And I'm excited for your match with Homicide. I can't wait to see you hopefully win that match. And that happens so rarely now. Like I said, you'll get baby faces and there's nothing actually babyface about them, but you're as clean cut as it gets. So keep that up.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Funny story that you mentioned that. I work for a company here in the States a lot that's travel overseas at GCW, Game Changer Wrestling. And Bret Lauderdale, which is the owner of that company, came across to me and he said, Kerry, in this company, you are rarely the type of person that would fit in the scenery. And I was like, well, that stinks. But he's like, but you know why? We like having you here, and the fans like having you here. Is you're genuine. So just to think that you guys would say that to me too, that's truly humbling to hear.
Yeah, that, you can tell. You can really tell.
That you think that way, because I love this business and I'm a kind, and my father was notoriously known for being that Mr. Humbled nice guy. And don't get me wrong, I'm humbled until the point has to exclude that. And excuse my dog down there. It has to get to the point where some points I have to make my mark and I have to make my stand on where I firmly believe in. But in my career this far, I'm supportive of the support of folks like you that mean that, and hopefully I have the support of many others overseas across the pond. That'd mean the world.
Hey, hopefully next time we speak to you, you'll have some gold around your shoulder.
We can hope. We can pray. But most importantly, hard work is going to get me the farthest. And that's something I know deep down inside right now is that belt's not going to come to me. And I'm not going to go to it. I have to run for it. And I have to chase after it and go after it time and time again. And that's something I'm going to do, damn it.
Well, you hit it on the head, dude. I always say it to people, hard work pays off. And you're proof of that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a pleasure, dude. But before we wrap it up, though, John, let everyone know where they can find you on social media, any merchandise, upcoming shows. Tell them all.
Please find me on social media at Instagram at Real Kerry Morton, on Facebook at Kerry Morton, and on Twitter at Real Kerry Morton. That's REAL Kerry KERRY Morton MORTON. So please find me on there. I would mean the world to grab a follow, and if you want to support an independent professional wrestler, then you can go over to Pro Wrestling Tees /Kerry Morton and pick up a T-shirt of mine. That money goes a long way, especially for an independent guy that's breaking on the scene, that's traveling in his car, that pays for his own expenses as his hotel and his gas and his food. So that money goes to that. So genuinely, that means the world. And if you want to find me at wrestling shows here in the States, this following weekend, I'm at The Gathering, which is in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'll be wrestling in the main event against George South, the legendary George South, and Toby Carino. We're tag teaming with my partner. So with my father, excuse me. So that's going to be a real fun opportunity. And then week after week after that, I'm booked up, and I couldn't be more blessed than where I am right now.
Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure. Like Carl said, hopefully we can do this again at some point. But it's been an absolute pleasure, man. We can't thank you enough. Please give our respects to your dad as well. But for now, the future legend and the future NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion, Kerry Morton, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it.
Kerry.
Awesome, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the air. That was a really fun talk.
Really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man.